Expanders' immediate raw reaction, which was caught on video following the grand jury announcement, was born out of desperation and frustration after watching the decision that the killer of her unarmed child would not be brought to justice. I'm giving everybody just a moment to set back up. Just a moment to set back up. Okay.
Let me see this. Let me say this before y'all distorted. There was a so-called reporter, blogger, saying some stuff, but I came only to stir things up that John responded to. So before y'all act like there was a disturbance among the folk, they were concerned about him coming in as a blogger, castigating me. We went, Mike Sr. and I, to tell them, let him say what he wants to say. So I just want y'all, when y'all run the pictures, disruption at the conference. It was one of y'all bloggers that caused the disruption. And we went so our people would not overreact. I just want to give clarity what it is. And I have no problem with a guy not wanting to hear what I got to say, but then why would you come to where I'm the one speaking? It just really doesn't make sense. Who do you think was going to speak at my press conference? That's just like all the folk that like me on Facebook to cuss me out. That really don't make a lot of sense.
Right. Thank you, Real. Don, I tried to answer your question again. Leslie Expanders' immediate reaction, which was caught on videotape after hearing the devastating news that the killer of her child was not going to be brought to justice, was overwhelming to her. She, as a Ferguson community, understands that we all have a responsibility to protect the community. Michael Brown Sr. is here speaking on behalf of his family, and you all saw his PSA where he continued to ask for calm. And that's one of the reasons why he is not speaking today. You don't want to be able to use the raw emotion of a family that has been devastated once by seeing their child dead on the ground, and then getting the devastating news of a prosecutor who was supposed to go and represent people like Michael Brown, but accused Michael Brown. So that's the raw emotion of it, and we try to move on, focused on the cause of saying nobody is going to condone violence, and we're going to reject it. And as Reverend Al said, people who do that stuff, it's not appropriate. Michael said it so eloquently, asking for peace and calm. And so we'll move on.
Yeah. Go ahead. The first question is, did you ever get a sense from the prosecutor as to what the votes were? That's number one. And number two, what do you say to the prosecutor saying that, we've opened all this evidence up, we've given everyone a chance to take a look, we've been transparent. They've actually made an effort to be above and beyond.
Well, two quick things on that. As Attorney Means just reminded me, prosecutors, when you come to put on your case, you don't put on your worst case, you put on your best case. Does anybody think that he put on his best case? And then why change the rules when it's our children dead on the ground? For all the 28 years or so, Reverend Al, that he was the prosecutor, he did grand juries, he recommended charges. He didn't go dump everything out. So he said he did it this way because it was so fair. So is that to say for the other 28 years he was unfair? Don't change the rules on us. We want equal justice. We want due process. Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday, the grand jury handed down its decision. In Washington, President Obama awarded a Presidential Medal of Freedom to the 3 civil rights activists, Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman, who their killers were not indicted by the state, but by the federal government. Are you hoping for the same thing here? And number two, last night, as we covered the protests in front of the Ferguson police station, it was packed with riot police, state troopers were there, all the advanced weaponry was there. When we went over to West Florissant, and expected to be stopped there by the police, as we were at the protests months ago. It was wide open. We saw no state troopers, and we hardly saw police. Do you think the authorities let Ferguson burn?
Well, let me say to the first part of your question, because I think the second question has been answered. The first part of your question, it is, and you are probably more aware than most of the media, if not all that are here, it has been the legacy of his civil rights movement that you always had to go to the federal government and could not depend on states, whether it was Goodman, Cheney, or Swerner, whether it was Michael Brown Jr. So we are not in a strange place. We had hoped we'd be in a different place, but it's not strange. And I think that it is interesting that on the day that Goodman, Cheney, and Swerner were given the Medal of Freedom was the day that McCullough decided in the dark hours to announce his state decision on the Michael Brown case. And 8 years ago today, Sean Bell was killed by police in New York. So all of these things come together. But I think the lawyers have stated the legal case. I say that many of us, for Mark Morial and Cornell Brooks and all of us, this is not our first rodeo, McCullough. We will deal with this in the way civil rights leaders have.